So this morning I'm going to cover a few topics like the origin of the name Palestine, where did those peoples come from, the Bar Kokhba revolt, which was in fact a false messiah that was supposed to, he called himself the Messiah and it turned out that he wasn't, and how Hadrian replaced the name of Judea with Palestina so as to erase the memory of Judea, Israel, and Jerusalem forever. And then I'm going to talk about how Russia has been exposed. They've been caught directing Hamas to attack Israel. Now, before I get started, if you hear my dogs in the background barking incessantly, it is because hunting season has started, and in my county, they use dogs for deer hunting. Let's get started. Now, but where did the so-called Palestinians come from? Well, in the table of nations here, they are among the sons of Ham. So, grandson actually. So, the sons of Ham are Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. Now, Cush is the father of pretty near all the darkest skinned people on the earth. But also, not just them. You will see the name in the Hindu Kush Mountains. And very likely, much of the Far Easterners. Mitzrayim, you will find them in North Africa, with Egypt and probably the Berbers, and maybe the Berbers among Put as well. And of course we know who the Canaanites are. And also, I might have to take it back concerning Cush and the Far Easterners. It appears that many of the Far Easterners came through the Silk Road from Asia Minor, and Asia Minor was once the largest population in the world in the days of Moshe, around 1500 or so. I can't remember quite what it was, BCE. It was called the Hittite Kingdom. So I have to scratch what I said about Far Easterners of Cush, actually of the Hittites, and the Hittites came from Canaan. Okay, so you have the sons of Cush, Seba, which is where the Sabians come from. So these are obviously black people. And as I pointed out in the previous video, that the people of Pelesheth are going to be deported to the Sabians and will have to serve under the Sabians. Okay, and then you have Havilah, Saptah, Ra'ama, Savteka. All right, so let us go down here. Mitzrayim begat Ludim. or as we call Lud. And Lud, I believe, are much of the Berbers, but you will find them also in Asia Minor today. And Anamim, Lebahim, Naftakim, Pathrasi, Kazlukim, out of who came the Philisti, aka the Philistines, Pelishit. Pelishti. So this Kazlukim is a brother of the Egyptians, is a brother of also Ludim, which is much of the Berbers in North Africa. Okay? Now, where you see right here, Canaan begot Sidon, which that would be in Lebanon. And another son of Canaan was Heth, ancestor of the Hittites. Okay, so a little bit of understanding here of where the Philistines, where the Pelisheth, where the so-called Palestinians came from, so that we have context. Let's get started with, I have to go to the Jewish Virtual Library. But even they have something not quite right, and this is the reason why I had to point out where Pelisheth came from. All right, map of so-called Palestine. The word Palestine or Philistine does not appear in the Quran. Palestine is also not mentioned in the Old or New Testament. There's no such thing as the Old and New Testament. It is Old Covenant and New Covenant. But anyway, I continue. It does occur at least 8 times in 8 verses of the Hebrew Concordance of the King James Bible, and as I pointed out to you, the word is Pelishti or Pelisheth. As I pointed out to you in the previous video in Yol 3. Let's continue. Though the definite origins of the word Palestine have been debated for years and are still not known for sure, the name is believed to have been derived from the Egyptian and Hebrew word Pelisheth, which appears in the Tanakh no fewer than 250 times, roughly translated to mean rolling or migratory. They migrated there, it was never their land. The term was used to describe the inhabitants of the land to the northeast of Egypt, the Philistines. The Philistines were an Aegean people more closely related to the Greeks and with no connection ethnically, linguistically, or historically with the Arabia. That is only partially correct. They are not associated with the Greeks. They are, as I showed you, proved to you, it came from Mitzrayim, brother of Egypt, the son of Ham. The Greeks are the sons of Japheth, or Japheth, who conquered the Mediterranean coastal plain that is now Israel and Gaza in the 12th century BCE. Before the Israelite conquest, the Egyptians called what is now Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. See, they don't want the name Israel to ever be remembered either. All right. The term Canaan appeared in the 15th century BCE and was subsequently referred to as Eretz B'nai Israel, the land of the children of Israel. And not Joshua, but Yehoshua 11 verse 22, or Eretz Israel in 1 Samuel 13:19. That would be my favorite way to express the Holy Land, Eretz Israel. After the Jewish return from Egypt. Yes, return, because they lived in the land of Canaan before they went to Egypt. The name Israel was first used in the 10th century BCE to refer to the northern Jewish kingdom. No, that's not true. The Jewish kingdom was the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Yehuda, following the division of Solomon's kingdom. During the Persian period, the area which is now Israel and Syria was referred to as what was Soele, Syria, a derivative of the name Palestine. First appears in Greek literature in the 5th century BCE when the historian Herodotus used the word Palestine to refer to the coastal strip inhabited by the Philistines. Alright, in as early as 300 BCE, the term Judea appears most likely to describe the area where the population was predominantly Jewish. It was distinguished from Palestine and Syria. Coins with the words Judea or something similar were produced at the time of the first Jewish revolt, 66 to 70 CE. In the 2nd century CE, the Romans crushed the revolt of Shimon bar Kokhba. That's at 132 CE, during which Jerusalem and Judea were conquered, and the area of Judea was renamed Palestina in an attempt to minimize Jewish identification with the land of Israel. And there you have it, folks. So what I'm doing is giving the truth to you in black and white. And anyone who refers to the Holy Land as Palestine, well, let me continue with this particular article and show you all who these people are. During which Jerusalem and Judea were conquered, and the area of Judea was renamed Palestina in an attempt to minimize Jewish identification with the land of Israel. According to Louis Feldman, the appellate was likely chosen because it was common to use the name in the nearest, most accessible tribe. He notes that there is no evidence as to who chose the name. Oh, there is plenty of evidence, folks. Or when it was done, but argues it was most likely the Roman Emperor Hadrian who was responsible for several decrees that sought to crush the national and religious spirit of the Jews. Now you're telling the truth. Nevertheless, Feldman said that Rabbi Akiva testified in the 2nd century that diaspora Jews referred to the land as Eretz Israel. The rabbis never referred it to as Palestine, and correctly so. He notes that even vicious anti-Jewish writers in antiquity generally do not use the term Palestine. Arabia was founded by Emperor Trajan in 105 CE and was attached to Palestine. In 358, the Negev and the southern Transjordan became separate provinces named Palestina. Salutaris that is a Roman Greek Roman name. Around the year 390, during the Byzantine period, the imperial province of Syria, Palestina, was reorganized into Palestina Prima, Palestina Secunda, Palestina Salutaris. Following the Muslim conquest, the place names were converted to Arabic. Palestina Prima became Philistine, and Secunda was named Urdun, a.k.a. Jordan. The name Palestine became common in early modern English. It was used, for example, by the Crusaders. And who were the Crusaders? The Crusaders were Christians. And as I have said over and over and over again, Palestine, or Palestina, is a curse word. And those who use it to insult the Holy Land bring a curse upon themselves. The Crusaders, the Christians, have brought a curse upon themselves by insulting Jehovah and his land, committing blasphemy, using that term for the Holy Land. In the Middle Ages, according to Bernard Lewis, Europeans referred to the Holy Land as Palestine, gained greater currency beginning with the Renaissance. Under the Ottoman Empire, the term Palestine was used as a general term to describe the land south of Syria. It was not an official designation, but they called it that to insult the Creator, his inheritance, and his land. Many Ottomans and Arabs who lived in Palestine during this period referred to the area as southern Syria, not Palestine. And you can see the map here under Ottoman rule. During the 2600 years, those who lived in what the Roman Emperor Hadrian renamed Palestine were known as Palestinians, including Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and the people of any ethnic or religious affiliation. Accordingly, Palestinians did not describe any one ethnic or religious group. Its definition applied to anyone living in the area, according to Brian Schrager. Individually, the Arabs did not call themselves Palestinians. Most identified as Christians or Muslims. As members of a clan, the two main rivals were the Husseinis and the Nashashibis, and as residents of the city were called Jerusalemites. Leading up to Israel's independence in 1948, it was common for the international press to label Jews, not Arabs living in the Mandate, as Palestinians. According to Zachary Foster, the first use of the word Palestinians to describe Palestine's Arabic speakers was by Khalil Beidas in 1898. Georges Kassab, a Beirut-based Orthodox Christian, noted in passing in his 1909 book, Palestine, Hellenism, and Clericalism, that the Orthodox Palestinian Ottomans called themselves Arabs, and are in fact Arabs, despite describing the Arabic speaker of Palestine as Palestinians throughout the rest of his book. So what is the purpose of using the word Palestine, then? To insult Jehovah and his inheritance, Eretz Israel, the Holy Land. Okay? And I don't want to read all the way through this, but there's somewhere okay. 6 years later, the Arab-Palestinian Congress was held in 1919, during which David Margolis noted that the Arabs called for Palestinian unity and independence, albeit still understanding Palestine was a part of Greater Syria. Greater Syria is a colonial expansion of Syria into the Holy Land. So what they are guilty of, they accused the Jews of being guilty of. Bernard Lewis noticed it was the British conquest of the country in World War I that Palestine, for the first time since remote antiquity, became a separate entity, this time in a mandate held by the British Empire and approved by the League of Nations. The name adopted to designate this entity was Palestine, resuscitated from an almost forgotten antiquity. And why did these Christian nations, Christian-led nations of the United Nations do this? To insult Jehovah and his inheritance, Eretz Israel. Blasphemy. The area included not only present-day Israel, but also present-day Jordan. Jews in the region rejected the name Palestine, and rightly so, because it is associated with what Lewis says was a largely successful Roman attempt to destroy and obliterate the Jewish identity from the land of Israel. Consequently, Jews typically refer to the land as Eretz Israel in Hebrew, as I do. Still, they would identify as Palestinian Jews to the English, to get along with them, as reflected by institutions such as the Palestine Post newspaper, later became the Jerusalem Post, and the Palestine Symphony Orchestra, later the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra. According to Lewis, Jews agreed to use the word Palestina transcribed into Hebrew when some designation was needed, such as postage stamps and coins. The abbreviated Aleph Yod was added to refer to Eretz Israel. And I have done several videos in the past that YouTube has now blocked, pointing out that the whole British mandate was promised to the Jews. But YouTube does not want you to see that proof anymore. All right. I need to come back down here because I don't want to read the whole thing. Somewhere it was Jupiter. Where is it? Now I'm not able to find it, because what Hadrian did. Let's see if I can find it here. Hadrian, he placed the graven image of Jupiter, or Deuspiter. Deus is what Christian Latins call their creator. Deuspiter, or Jupiter, is Satan. He is the abomination of desolation. Somewhere it's in here. I don't know why I can't find it now. Oh, I will find it if I have to go Google for it. But I saw it in here. Okay. Since I can't find it here, I will have to Google for it. So, placed the statue of Jupiter on the Temple Mount. Okay. So the temple that Hadrian put Jupiter's statue on would have been built by the Romans on the site of the Jewish temple. Okay? We see that right here. Remember, this is the man who put the image of Deus Pater, Jupiter, on the temple. Okay. Here we go. This right here should have it. We have the Temple of Jupiter right here. 135. Okay. So the temple in Jerusalem over the threshing floor, which is presently under the Alcas fountain. Solomon built the temple on the threshing floor. I'm going to pull this over here. That David bought. The Dome of the Rock is the highest point of the Temple Mount. Threshing floors were never built on hills but in curved valleys, like directly under the Alcas fountain. Under the Dome of the Rock was where the fortress of Antonia stood. In 135, the Hadrian filled in about 50 feet of dirt over the top where the temple stood and enlarged the Temple Mount and built a temple of Jupiter where we see the Dome of the Rock today. Okay. So, now watch this. We're not done yet. What was Constantine? He was the Christian emperor. In 325, Constantine tore down the temple of Jupiter and assumed Hadrian built the temple of Jupiter on top of the spot where the temple of Solomon once stood. Constantine built an octagon church on the site. And in 700, the Muslims found the foundations of Constantine's octagon building and built the Dome of the Rock as we see today. So they all desecrated the land where the temple was. All of them, including the Christian and the Muslim. On the Temple Mount, Hadrian erected a temple to Jupiter with an equestrian statue of himself in front of it. The Temple of Jerusalem. Okay, so now, let's see here. I did a video about this a while back. Okay. The Latin name for, as they say, creator, their deity is Deus. Now, Deus Pater is the Christian God. Jupiter and the Zeus Pater both mean God the Father. So every time you Christians pray to your God the Father, you are praying to Deus Pater, who is Jupiter. See? So, now you know what Hadrian did. And you can do, see, I don't know if I want to go through all of this. But this is a long, long, long study. About the Kokhba revolt, Bar Kokhba revolt, I'm sorry. It'll probably be a good one to study, but I've got some things to cover here. And it is unfortunate that your normal news outlets are not covering this, that independent news sources are the ones that you have to look for. Now, so while all this is going on, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, is prepping for a new Mavi Marmara in Gaza. Okay? 2 Navtex for exercises with live fire off the coast of Cyprus and very close to the coast of Israel in the eastern Mediterranean, which is why the U.S. now has 2 aircraft carriers headed to Israel. The Turkish station of Anatolia of the Hydrographic Service of the Turkish Navy issued. The first concerns an exercise off the coast of Morpo and binds the area from October 16th to 20th. So it's happening right now. The second Navtex commits a sea area further north in the Gulf of Anatolia from the 17th to the 19th of October. At the same time, a search and rescue exercise is planned in cooperation with the pseudo-state. The pseudo-state? What? What are they saying? From October to 23rd to 27th under the name of Martyr Lieutenant Janer Gionelli. According to Turkish media, Turkish naval forces will conduct an exercise in the eastern Mediterranean this week due to the growing U.S. naval presence. So why don't we just get all the nations over there? The exercise comes at a time of tension between Turkey and the U.S. following the deployment of USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and its battle group into the region. On Saturday, the United States ordered the deployment of a second aircraft carrier to the region to prevent hostile actions against Israel. The presence of the USS Eisenhower and its battle group in the Mediterranean Sea signals Washington's ironclad commitment, and I call that into question too, but anyway, to Israel's security and our determination to deter any state or non-state actor that seeks to escalate this war, the Defense Secretary said, Lloyd Austin. At the same time, it became known that all Turkish-flagged ships near Israel were put on security level 3. TRT reports that Turkish-flagged ships that will sail to Israeli ports were put on the highest level of security. The Turkish Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure makes it reference to the situation that arose in the region with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that began on October 7th, taking into account the developments in Israel, the security level of Turkish flag ships that sail to the ports of the said country or sail in their open sea has been raised to level 3. The process is closely monitored by the ministry. All right. It is very possible that Erdogan, after the statements against Israel and the USA, is preparing a new Mavi Marmara by sending a humanitarian ship accompanied with a frigate to Gaza without the permission of the Israeli authorities. Here we go again. Here we go again, trying to pick a fight, trying to start a war with Israel. Turkey trying to start a war with Israel, a member of NATO. Such a move would create additional serious problems for Israel as well as for the U.S. Erdogan would again play the role of the protector of the Palestinians and take out Israel, accusing it of inhumane tactics against the civilian populations. All right, and Erdogan's son and son-in-law were at a pro-Hamas rally in Istanbul. Okay? And you go through all the sympathy that Erdogan has for Hamas. Now, Lebanon is also being evacuated. U.S. sends 2,000 additional troops and USS Bataan to Israel. Iran is saying we are approaching 0 hour for the region. It's not me that's saying we are approaching 0 hour for the region. Iran is saying this. In other words, the clock is about to strike, what? Midnight! Hezbollah hits 5 Israeli sites, double ultimatum for Israel. Okay. U.S. is mobilizing an additional 2,000 U.S. troops as fears of a second front against Israel heightens. A while ago, Iranian foreign minister said the expansion of the war between Israel and Hamas is becoming more and more inevitable. It's not me saying it. Nope. It's not the U.S. saying it. It's Iran saying it. The time for political solution is running out and the possible extension of the war to other fronts is approaching the inevitable stage. Earlier, Hezbollah claimed responsibility for a series of attacks against the Israeli position in Lebanon-Israel border as well as the ATGM attack on a Merkava tank. Hezbollah emphasized that it hit 5 Israeli sites, namely, sorry, my Hebrew is no good. The IDF spokesman confirmed that a Merkava tank was targeted by an anti-tank missile on the border with Lebanon without further details. So they have, 130,000 rockets, which is enough to attack major cities in Israel. All right? So Iran says the U.S. is already involved militarily in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The United States is already heavily involved and must be held accountable, an Iranian official said Monday. The U.S. is ramping up its firepower in the Middle East in response to the war between its ally Israel and Iran-backed Hamas militants amid fears of a regional conflict. All right. All right, so you see all this. Now, folks, who is directing all of this traffic? Well, let's have a look at this. This is Warthog Defense, a fairly popular military channel. They are busted. Russians are caught. An attack on Israeli base with Hamas. Let's see the evidence.
The conflicts in Israel and Ukraine are becoming connected in many ways, and their main link is Russia, or more precisely, Russia's failed invasion of Ukraine. After a lot of unverified information, a clear evidence for direct Russian participation in the Hamas operation in Israel has finally appeared. This video shows Russian-speaking instructors within the Hamas terrorist organization, which gave orders and coordinated the actions of mercenaries during the attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023. The order in Russian, "Prikrivet, prikrivet, cover, cover," can be clearly heard from 12 seconds onwards.
Allahu Akbar!
Last March, a Palestinian delegation arrived in Moscow for talks with Russian officials. The delegation was from Hamas, the militant Palestinian group that's been labeled a terrorist organization by the United States and the European Union. The meeting, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry, touched on Russia's unchanged position in support of a just solution to the Palestinian problem. When considering the issue of restoring Palestinian national unity, the Russian side expressed its readiness to continue to assist in overcoming differences and bringing together the positions of leading Palestinian political forces and movements on the platform of the Palestine Liberation Organization. The ministry's readout said, Russia's ties to Hamas are well documented, as are its ties to Hamas's main backer, Iran. For some observers and commentators of the ongoing bloodshed in Israel, that in itself is cause for blaming Moscow, accusing it of having a direct hand in the spiraling violence. Russia's embrace of Iran has benefited Moscow in its war on Ukraine, with Tehran supplying kamikaze drones and other equipment to help Russian forces seeking to hold back a slow-moving Ukrainian counteroffensive. Russia is also set to benefit from the Israel-Hamas conflict, as Israel's requests for U.S. military aid risk diverting weapons and focus from Ukraine, while the rising price of oil bolsters Moscow's economy.
And there you have it, folks. You heard it. Overwhelming evidence that Russia is directing all of this to divert American resources from Ukraine to drive up the price of oil for money. But there is something else as well. You see, don't forget the oil that was found in the Golan Heights. I might need to go to that. I don't want to get too far off. A company drilling for oil on the Golan Heights claims to have found significant amounts in the plateau. We're talking about a layer 350 meters thick. Major oil reserves have been discovered in the Golan Heights, which could make Israel self-sufficient for many years to come. And let's see if we can find any. Now, this is where the right. So this is this location is where the Gog Magog War is going to take place. Okay. All right. So that brings us to then Ezekiel 38. Before I forget, Wagner Group, recruiting from Africa. The Wagner Group is all in Africa. They're recruiting in Africa, and as you can see, they were in Gaza, as we just found out from this particular video. All right. Now we have some context here. The word of Jehovah, not the Lord. His name is not the Lord. His name never was the Lord, and it never shall be the Lord. His name is not God. It never was God, and it never shall be God. His name can never be replaced. His name is Jehovah. Came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Gog, of the land of Magog, Rosh, captain of Meshech. Who is the captain of Meshech today? Vladimir Putin. And Tubal. I did a video a long time ago about Vladimir Putin's mother being from the land of the Republic of Georgia, which is just another name for Gog. The Swedish royal family call themselves the descendants of Gog. Okay? And you notice how close in proximity Norway, Sweden, and Finland are to Russia. And prophesy against them and say, Adonai, not Lord, Adonai, Jehovah says this, Gog, Rosh, captain of Meshech, Moscow, and Tobolsk, or Tbilisi, Tbilisi. Let me go do this real quick and continue. Of Putin. What was her name? Her name is Vera Nikolaevna Putina. Was a Georgian mother who stated that Vladimir Putin, whose real name is Vova, is her son. Even has some resemblance. There is a picture of her with him. He is Georgian. The name of Georgia is in Hebrew is Gog. Let us continue. So he is a Georgian. He is the Rosh captain of Meshech, Moscow. And Tubal, you will return and put hooks in your jaws, and I will bring you forth. Not all your army. It does not say that. It does not. It just says with an army. This word Kayil can mean strength, can mean efficiency, can mean wealth, and can mean army. In this case, it means army. And horsemen, all of them, or it just says clothed with gorgeous attire, perfect armor, the best armor of the day, a great company, buckler and shield to hold a cherub, axes, knives, swords, swordsmen, tool. So holding tools of war, weapons of war. It's not just a sword. And today, many military guns have bayonets on them. Why is this? Google Translate, I don't need you. All right. And who? Who is among them, this army? Persia, Cush, black Africans. And if you've been paying attention, you will realize that the Wagner Group has overthrown several black African countries. I believe Niger being one of them. And so we have North Africans among this crowd. You have Persians, you have black Africans, and you have North Africans among this crowd with shield and helmet. You have Gomer. Now, see, Gomer is the father of Ashkenaz, and Ashkenaz is the father of the Germanic peoples. But Gomer is also the father of Rithith, which is the father of the Celts. So how far does this go? His army, the house of Togarmah. That's another son of Gomer. Now, it is claimed that there are plenty of Togarmah in Turkey, but it is also claimed that there is a lot of Togarmah in Russia and among Russia's northern neighbors. To be firm, affirm up your company that are assembled, and you are their guard, your watchman, the one who directs traffic. You are the observer. So you are the one who says, hey, this is happening here, do this, do that. After an abundance of days, you shall be visited. And remember, folks, if you've been paying attention to my videos, I told you to remember this particular Hebrew word, or acharith, in the after part. This is at the day of Jehovah's wrath. This is Yol 2. Alright, so we have this word here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Yol 2. And you will find it also in Yol 3, I do believe. Alright? So this Gog Magog War occurs at the same time as this. Watch out. I'll show it to you. Achar, which is a root word of acharith. In the after part, will I pour out my ruach upon flesh, not upon all flesh, upon flesh, and your sons And your daughters will prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. On my servants and upon the handmaids, in those days will I pour out my ruach. Those days will be wonders in the sky, wonders in the earth, blood in the sky and blood in the earth, fire in the sky and fire in the earth, and Timara, palm-like columns of smoke. And I pointed out to you many, many, many times over the past year that is describing mushroom clouds of nuclear warfare, of smoke. And the sun will be turned into darkness and the moon into blood, facing the great and terrible day of Jehovah's wrath. So this Achar, or Achari, is also, I think we can find it here. I've done this, and it happens when Lebanon, Tyre and Zidon, and Pelesheth are at war with Israel. And he is going to sell them into the hands of the children of Yehuda, and Yehuda will sell them to the Sabians. We just learned, to a people far off, who the Sabians are. We just learned who the Sabians are. They are Black Africa, which would mean sub-Saharan Africa. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war among the mighty men. All right? And when does this happen? When the sun and the moon be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, Jehovah shall roar from Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem. And a great earthquake is going to occur. Now, let's continue. So to be in the latter days. But the Acharith, facing the day of Jehovah's wrath, you will come into the land that is brought back from the sword, to gather many people against the mountains of Israel. Russia looks like it's directing the traffic of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste. They will begin to come out of the nations, and they will dwell safely. For 50 years they dwelled in relative safe. For 50 years. No, they did not have to declare war. You will ascend and come like a storm, and be like a cloud to cover the land. Your army and many people with you. At the same time, a thought shall come into your mind, and you will say, go up to the land of unwalled hamlets. Jerusalem is not unwalled hamlets. Northern Israel is the land of unwalled hamlets. The Golan Heights is the land of unwalled hamlets. And I will go to them that are quiet, that dwell safely, dwelling without walls. Northern Israel is the one that dwells without walls. Oh, and by the way, and just because he says they're dwelling without walls and having either bars nor gates, that does not make it true. This is what the captain of Moscow says. In his mind, to take up spoil and to take a prey, and to turn your hand upon the desolate places which are now inhabited, and upon the people that have been gathered out of the Gentiles, which have gotten cattle and goods, and dwell in the midst of the land, Sheba and Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish. Now Sheba and Dedan, that group is located in Saudi Arabia. Now the merchants of Tarshish, these are capitalists, the young lions. These are young, strong countries. They will say to you, they're going to try to check him. Are you come to take a spoil? Have you gathered your company to take a prey, to carry away gold and silver, and to carry away cattle and goods to take a great spoil? Son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus saith Adonai, Jehovah, in the day when my people of Israel dwell safely, not all of them are there. As you read in Joel 3, it is Yehuda and Jerusalem that's there. Shall you not know it? And it shall come out of your place, out of the north, out of the extreme north. See, we got location, folks. This is not just Turkey. No, this is the extreme, the farthest north that you can possibly get of civilization. Okay? You and many people with you. All of them riding upon Sus. Sus can mean even warbirds, but also horses or whatever it is to carry a man around. Okay? And it shall come to pass, when they will come up against the land of Israel, that my fury shall come up in my face. For in my jealousy and the fire of my wrath have I spoken, and surely on that day there will be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. So one of the things you need to look for as a sign is a great earthquake. A huge earthquake in the land of Israel. So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the sky and the beasts of the field and all the creatures, and what's that earthquake going to be caused by? When he roars from Zion upon the earth, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and all the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Wait a minute, I thought there was no walls in the land of Israel. Well, you thought wrong. See, remember, when he says a land of no walls, that's him saying that in his mind. It's kind of like how the Japanese saw the Americans training with fake wooden guns, and they assumed that the Americans had no weapons. I will call for sword against him, and pestilence, and blood, and I will rain upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain, great hailstones, fire, and brimstone. Now we look here in the next one, and he says that he is going to bring them upon the mountains of Israel, and he will strike his bow, in a figure of speech, out of his left hand, and will cause the arrows to fall out of his right hand. You will fall upon the mountains and all of your bands and the people that are with you, and I will give you the ravenous birds of every sort and to the beasts of the field. And you shall fall upon the open field, for I have spoken, it says, Adonai Jehovah, and I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the coastlands. What is that fire? I will tell you what that fire is. I show you that this occurs at the end of Joel 3 and at the beginning of Joel 2 and the beginning of Joel 3. Let me show you what that fire is. The signs in the heaven and the earth, blood in the sky, blood in the earth, and tomorrow palm-like columns of smoke. Let's look at it. Nuke explosion. And there you have it, folks. Blood in the sky, blood in the earth, palm-like column of smoke. All right? Now, at this point in time, Israel is going to be gathered. The rest of Israel. Okay? Verse 25. Now I will have mercy upon the captives of Jacob, and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel, and will be jealous for my holy name. They bore their shame and all the trespasses which they trespassed against me when they dwelt safely in the land originally, and none made them afraid. Now I'm going to bring them back again. I'm going to cause them to return from the people, and gather them out of their enemies' lands, and sanctify them in the sight of many nations. And they shall know Jehovah Elohim, that caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen. And it says right here, somewhere in here, so the house of Israel shall know Jehovah Elohim from that day and forward. So this event is going to cause Israel to see, to repent, as they say. Now, so I would strongly recommend that you check out, and it's in YouTube if you want to scroll through my YouTube channel and look. It's also in BitChute. It's just easier for me to find it in BitChute because we got the big old flag. It's just easier to scroll down. Right here. See, you should go ahead and watch that one. And there's more. You have the description of these Yars mobile ICBM launchers in Revelation 9 verses 17 through 18. Okay, and this right here, there are other videos that I will show and this one is another one. Who is the one that wears the colors of the ribbon of St. George, as they say, and George is a name for Gog? Here's another one. This one is you need to watch this. Ribbon of St. George identifies Gog and the perpetrator of the sixth trumpet plague. Sixth trumpet plague, where 1/3 of mankind is wiped out. I strongly urge that you watch this video and you will get context of what we just talked about today.